Hi, good morning, and thank you for joining me in my shop. Today is August 22nd. Another really cold day to start off with. 10 degrees this morning. I can't believe it. It's August. 10 degrees. And I think the high today is 25, which is quite normal, but starting off real cold. So what about this radio? So I kind of stunned myself yesterday and managed to make it work. That's a great thing. That tells me an awful lot about this radio. It tells me an awful lot is good about this radio for it to work like that. One of the things I was not particularly aware of, that I am now, thanks to an email I was sent, is jiggling this, which is what brought the radio to life, because of the contacts that are inside the radio. While I was doing that, there was a remote chance that I could shock myself if somehow I managed to separate this from the chassis briefly while it was still in contact with the HF. And you're grounding yourself while you're pulling on these handles and whatnot. So I would think probably there's a small chance, but occasionally people got a good lift off of this, as I was warned, so I'll be a little more cautious about it. That's what the BFO, or the B plus switch here was really about, cutting the B plus off, or the high voltage off. You can pull this out, put another one in, and then flick it back on. I hadn't read about the safety thing. What I had read about was that it made a loud pop in the headphones. So this switch was to stop the loud pop in the headphones. And as a lot of these radios, I might as well keep talking about high voltage here. The high voltage is presented right through the headphones that you might plug in. Now this radio has been altered significantly by the Canadian Army. It has 3 outputs, and one of them is going to an output transformer, which is this one, which is the one I'm using. So assumably, and not assumably, that should remove the risk of B plus being present on these leads. And this, and of course my headphones are not plugged right in here. I think I mentioned this, I'd be scared to wear a pair of headphones plugged in here with high voltage right on the headphones themselves, stuck on your head. I'm sure I mentioned that, I think, in the first video. So that's really fortunate that this particular model has had this professional level alteration done to it that I can take advantage of now. I've been trying to find more and more information about this particular altered model. There's apparently some significant number of them, 50, maybe even 200 of them floating around. I guess most of them would be scrapped by now, but there might be a few more with the 3 jacks. I've seen a couple pictures, but only a couple of pictures. So as far as I know, there's 3 of these, and I've got one of the 3 here. So that's a little chat. Now, my intention today was to use an ohm meter and measure the pin resistances on the vacuum tubes, because I'd seen a chart of that information in the manual, service manual. Now, looking more closely at it, that the resistance chart is actually for a different model, the model with metal tubes in it. This one has glass tubes in it, 8-pin tubes, not octal tubes. And there is a voltage chart, a 2-pin voltage chart for this radio, this model, but no resistance. So that's a little disappointing. So, as I'm talking to you here, I am considering what to do. I think I should be doing a number of tests to kind of prove that things aren't really, there isn't something really seriously wrong in this radio. Hard to see how there could be when it worked as well as it did yesterday, but it's all original as far as I know. As far as I've seen, all the parts are original. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my coffee cup here. So I broke a rule and brought a coffee cup in here. I never ever do that. No food in the lab. But I'm going to go and drink this coffee and think about doing the voltage check, because that's the information I've got. And if I want to check something, I think that's all I've got. Okay, after talking to my coffee cup, the coffee cup said, well, forget about doing those measurements for now. Maybe there's some other stuff you can kind of work on the radio. One of the things about this radio, and I don't know what to make of it at all, is there's a lot of play in the dial. And this radio is famous for its dial. So I don't think this is normal. I'm doing this, I'm sure the capacitor is not moving. This cover plate apparently is another Canadian modification that was made to these radios. I'm not sure if that's really true. The other HRO radio I have, this plate does not exist. I'm going to take this off. It's got the serial number written on it. Or a number anyway, 494. Same number that's appearing down here. You could guess it's a serial number. Oh boy, that's a little tighter than I thought. Okay. Now, why is the plate there? Probably because, I mean, there's some good reasons. The obvious one is protection of these capacitors. So you're going to reach in and change a tube or something like that. Some clumsy guy in a half-dark room, and he's going to bang into this capacitor and perhaps bend the plates a little bit or do something like that. So I think that's one reason. Why wasn't this a standard feature on this radio? I don't know. Surely to goodness, putting a plate over here is going to affect the capacitance of these capacitors a little bit. So having removed it now, the radio will not tune the same way it did. That would be my guess. I mean, I have to experiment to really find that out. What are we seeing here? Now, my understanding is there's a gear arrangement inside the box here that involves a worm gear. I think you're turning a worm gear, and then it's driving the rotating gear. Maybe there's more gears in here. Typically, with a geared arrangement, there is no play unless something is loose. And although I've seen an exploded diagram of what's in here, I really don't appreciate what's in there. Is this like a cover that could come off? Well, I don't know about that either. I mean, there's a screw back here. It doesn't look like it's holding this on. And then there's another screw up here it can't get at anyway. So taking this cover off doesn't look like a possibility. Look at how they've done the grounding in here. I mean, this is a very, very early radio. So you'll find these same structures in 1950s and 60s radios. This piece here, this curved piece, is actually a spring pushing out. And it's pushing a little contact. You can just barely see it at the end of my finger there. Up against the metal plate. Up against these, in fact. So these rotating elements are actually, in most radios anyway, are grounded. And these are the ones that are ungrounded and insulated in the circuitry. You might think it'd be the other way around for some reason, but this is how they do it. So this attachment is intended to maintain a very reliable ground while you're tuning the radio. It's actually just sliding over the surface there. These are probably made of valuable materials. I don't think they'd use gold in there, but something that is not going to corrode. And 1939, 1940, what would that be? I don't know. In many old radios, a lot of these parts are cast out of what's commonly called pot metal, and it's very unstable metal. This doesn't seem to be the case at all here. I don't see any of that here. This is all hard steel. Pretty sure it's steel. Yeah. So one possibility here in the radio is the knob itself is loose on the shaft. So I'm going to look under here and see what's going on. Let me get my other camera. Now, unfortunately, the autofocus is on by default all the time, and it's really a problem, especially looking into dark spots. Let me just move this capacitor here. About a little more light. Okay, so we're looking right where the dial shaft comes through. Don't move, camera. Okay, I'm gonna turn the shaft. Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's play between what you see moving and what my hand is doing. And there's zero play here. So any play must be further in. Unfortunately, we just go right into this gearbox. So, sometimes what's happening, especially with string radios, is if the tuning capacitor and other parts are stuck, semi-stuck, if they're not turning freely, then as you turn the knob, you can kind of stretch the string or the tension you're applying to the string rather than driving or rotation of the tuning capacitor. Instead, it just pulls on parts, stretches the string a bit. Come on, don't. Let me stay. Just let me put on my put the light on blasting level here. That's a little better. No play at all. So another thing I could do is I could take the knob off. It's just got some screws here, but you know, it's this complicated knob with these numbers. One of the interesting things about this I read is that so we're looking at the top, and you see how the number is perfectly in there, and the next one's perfectly in there. They always appear to be perfectly in there. You never see them changing. Okay, that's not helping any. If I take the knob off, I'm scared I don't know enough. I don't know enough to do that. I don't know enough to take any of this apart. That's for sure. Let's take a look at what might be involved. If I want to get into this guy here, it really looks like that top should come off somehow. It's rock solid. Probably another screw up at the front here that you can't see it. And these ones, they weren't actually holding anything, I don't think. Let me take one out and look again. No, it's just going through the surface here. It's not biting into anything below. Well, so to fix this problem, I couldn't find. I looked around already for information about this. I couldn't find anything. I'm sure it exists. I'm sure people have written about this deal here. The other radio I have, you cannot turn the knob. The knob will go so far, and the pressure gets so high, you don't want to push any harder, and the capacitor never moves on the other radio. So it's got its problems too. So it sounds like I'm going to have to learn a lot about what's inside this box and how to deal with it. This top has to come off somehow. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't yank it off? No, I don't know. Interesting. This is really ruggedly built capacitor here. Heavy. Very heavy plates. Much thicker than the usual radio. This one outside plate is not supported. This is probably one that they might bend. I don't know about that. None of these are bent. They all look perfectly straight. But this one is not supported at the top, so I don't see any of them being bent. And they don't have the cuts to make bending easy. And wow, it's a stiff piece of metal here. So why exactly they didn't include it? It has to be for this bending purpose, which was not implemented. Very rugged beast. Look at this, the thickness of this metal. Yeah, you think they made this for a war? Oh, they didn't make it for a war. There's some more interesting stuff on these ground connections. You see, the ground connection is actually it looks like it's insulated, isolated from the metal frame here, and instead they have a wire. It's a bare wire going down, going down there somewhere. Going down. Looks like it's going through a hole in the chassis down under. Those are the contacts for the coil box. Huh. Oh, you can really see them there. This is a capacitor right here. The resistor across it. Another resistor down there. The tall insulator. So I did read something about these tall insulators often need cleaning. There's probably high voltage on top there, and these guys present a problem, so I read. Well, you know, part of the problem with the radio was the contacts that we're looking at not making proper contact. There's no surprise in that. Let's switch. Okay. I think clearly I'm going to have to learn about the mechanism here and somehow, I think, take it apart. You think some you know, there's like a maintenance schedule for oiling and stuff. There must be instructions on how to get in here. This really does look like a cap, but it is solid. Okay, next thing we'll take a look at is the contacts back here. So these are the contacts. They're the raised ones. They're slightly raised. Some of the earlier versions, these contacts were not raised. Now they don't look like gold. Look, I shouldn't really be touching them. They certainly have black. They certainly have wear on them. Let's take a look with the other camera at it. So it looks like they have a plating, and the plating has come off. The plating, it could be silver, it could have been silver plated, and now the material underneath, there's no reason to think that it's resistant to corrosion. I don't know what it is. This, you can see it flaking right off here. Is that really what's going on? Flaking? Oh, for crying out loud. Doesn't feel like it. Doesn't seem to be flaking. Kind of looked like it, but I'm just going to give me a moment here. I'm going to fix the focus on the camera so it doesn't do its thing anymore. Okay, there we go. Look at them all. They're all in the same state. They're all exactly the same. Now I've got another one of these coil packs in the other radio. I'm going to get it or look at the contacts on that one and compare them. Okay, so that's the one that's going with this radio. I can't mix them up because it has the serial number. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Hey, what are you doing looking at that camera? Look at this one. Right, so it says JB. The J indicates that this is a coil pack that has no band spread element to it. So earlier coil sets or other coil sets like this one, now this guy's lost his label and everything, so I'm not even too sure. Well, I guess I could read the frequency here. It's from 3 to 7. So this would be, I don't know, a B. This would be an A. This is probably the A pack, B pack. But this would not be a JB. This would be a B. And how do I know? Because it has two different reference charts. So one of them is for the whole bandwidth, which is 3 to 7, and the other one should be band spread 7 to 7.3. So this is the ham band spread, and apparently, I don't know which ones. There's some screws here. You do something with this to initiate the band spread side of it. Look at these screws. Look at them. They are really beat up. Look at how cammed out that one is. Oh my gosh. Look at this thing. What has somebody done to it? These are brutalized. This is cammed. They're all cammed. This one's terrible. What has been going on in there? Holy smokes. So we look at the contacts. These are also the raised contacts, same as the other one. And we'll look at the condition of them. We'll take a closer look with the other camera. So a kind of a similar color and obvious evidence of wear. Ooh, extensive wear on there. And then, copper corrosion on this last one. Really, really scratched up. The scratches, like they should be running, this way, but they appear to be running this way. As if somebody took some sandpaper or a file and went at it, or Like that seems like this one here, right in the middle. Looks like the material is flaking off it again. Well, they are what they are. And of course, the other part of the contact story is inside. Oh, these are contacts too. Are they? They look like it. Isn't that odd, eh? So I think maybe these screws are what gets moved, maybe from here to here or something like that. And this connects this contact point in or something like that. I don't really know for sure. Something of that sort. That makes some sense to me. So if you wanted to use the... oh, look at that screw. Holy smokes. You're going to be able to do anything with that? Pah! Looks like somebody purposefully wrecked it. Wow, so now that one looks good. Oh, this one looks okay. This one. It's almost as if somebody made sure it couldn't be turned. So, you know, these things were being used by soldiers. Well, maybe not soldiers, but that was used in a war. And people, I don't think, are so careful in a war. This one, that looks a little different. That looks more like a rivet there. That looks different. And that's different than all the rest. This one is different than all the rest. And it looks like there might be like a cap that has come off here. Contact cap. Oh, this one. No, these guys are similar. This one looks like it's some kind of sinkhole happening there. Okay. Wow. And there's some numbers. We got number 1, we got number 2, number 3, number 4. We didn't bother numbering number 4. How are they going to know number 4 if they don't put a number on it? Other information here of any sort. Here's the front chart. Another significant thing is that this is a white lines on a black background, and the one down here is the opposite. Black is a white background with black lines. I think this came later. It doesn't look like it though. There's what's left of the tag, assumably telling you which one which coil pack this is, and then this is the and okay, so that's the other coil pack. What about these? See, these screws have also been worked. So this thing's got a long history of of very crude work. Wow, that's really crude. Let's look at this one. Now this is the one that came with the radio. And what do we see? Once again, these screws are really knurled up. Look at them. Oh my gosh. I mean, aren't these adjustments? Aren't these like turning capacitor? Look at that. The slot is way off. What is happening here? So I read something about slots being cut, and this must be it. So this is actually just hex bolt, and they've cut a slot, well, you know, with a saw or something into them. And then they're probably not hard enough to take screwdrivering, but if these are just adjustments, surely to goodness you don't need that much force. You end up with the screw looking like that, and a big jab in the side. Or you know what? This isn't really a screw head. It's a blob of solder. That looks just terrible. Okay, well, interesting history here. I don't know what to make of it. Okay, so we go look at the contacts here. Again, we've got screw in place, no screw, and so I think that's a switch. You can see they're all like that. Oh, this last one has a whole set of contacts here. Again, these are like, why are they like this? You got me. Okay, I like to look at things very closely. See, this says 230L. Now that sounds like a serial number and a production run L. That would make some sense. And that could be associated directly with this particular radio. So if that's the real serial number, then this is probably a number related to the Canadian military system of keeping track of capital materials and stuff. They put the 0 quite a ways from the 494. Did they do that down below here too? No. They did it there. And the other one was on the metal plate. And I put the metal plate back here. Well, that looks more like, does that look like a 0 or an O? So you might start thinking, well, this is production run O494, not 230L. Don't know. Apparently the production runs were 2, 3, 400 radios at a time. So you get 2, 3, 400 L's and then 2, 3, 400 L. Actually, LM. So everything I'm saying is me in the process of learning, so I could have it all wrong for sure. These screws look nice. These ones have not been brutalized. And Mr. C says it's okay. There's this stuff written on the side now. So I think they wrote this on the side here because these things are stored in a way, they're probably sitting maybe on the shelf somewhere, like so. And so you could just look at the side and see the type. That seems kind of cornball because, I mean, it's B right there tells you what range it is. The B one is the, from there to there. It's a good one to have. Now, what about the contacts inside? Let me just put this over here. The contacts inside. So I'm shoving the camera right inside the radio here. I don't see any contacts yet. I went right by them. Here they are, coming into view here. Okay, now. Just set it here. I'm gonna get some lighting happening. Maybe just a flashlight. Maybe a flashlight that works. Okay, I'm gonna stop at the moment. A little coffee break. Come back with a bright flashlight. We'll look at those contacts. Okay, so here's a look at this would be the number 1 contacts. I guess you could say that's a little dirty. We'll go over to the next set. Same thing, looks like a surface plating has come off. Quite consistent looking. Looks like copper color. It's probably plated copper, which would make sense. Except these are spring contacts, and generally if you have a spring metal, it's steel. It wouldn't be copper. There's no springiness in copper. So it's probably, maybe it's it could be multi-plated. I don't know. We steel contacts with copper and then maybe silver. Is that a little bit green? You think that's a bit of a patina on there? They don't look damaged. They don't look bent. This one here, the one in the middle, looks a little high. But in terms of being a problem, I did, even though I operated the set, looks like you push them all the way in, and then the actual contact surface is down here. Yeah, better take a look at that. Let me just adjust the focus here a little bit. Come on now. There. Very consistent looking. This is number 2. This is number 1. These contacts are really critical because any wonkiness in them, and the radio's tuning is going to be interfered with. Very consistent. It's a very rugged construction. I mean, this thing, you could imagine, this has had the coils plugged in and out of it hundreds and hundreds of times. Now, is that rust? Is that steel rust? So I need to stick my finger up there and find out if that's what that is. I don't really want to put finger acid on things, but clean as a whistle. Felt really nice. Felt really smooth. Let's see about a piece of paper here. Yeah, I think there's nothing here for me to really do. Although there seemed to be a bit of a contact reliability problem there, because I wiggled it, and that's when the radio came to life. So, really, probably the best thing to do is just shove it in and out a few times, and that's what's happening here anyway. JB. So, don't know what to do about this. Need to find better instructions on how to go at this. Maybe somebody's made a video on exactly this situation here. I don't think lubricating this is going to overcome this problem. I think there's... So I believe inside here is a gear arrangement where they have 2 identical gears like this, and then there's a spring pushing them apart like that. And then when you drive them into the other gear, these are pulled apart. But because of the spring, they grab this part here. You know, I mean, the other gear teeth kind of get grabbed. So there's none of this. There shouldn't be any of this. But what if these plates are stuck together? If they're stuck together and the gap is open, you could get something like that happening. It just doesn't, it feels soft. So, you know, that kind of thing could be corrected with just a little bit of solvent in the right spot. Very good. Is there something else I can gather some information from today? So in terms of testing these tubes, I'm inclined to leave all that exactly as it is, and you know, unless there's a strong indication and it's quite a ways down the road of a weakness in the radio's operation that could be attributed to a tube, then I might be inclined to pull them out and test them. But as it is right now, I'm going to leave them alone. Pull them all out, put them all back in. I'm going to do it one at a time, and when I'm done, the radio doesn't work because 3 of them have lost contact. And that situation would be quite tricky to try to figure out what has gone on. So I don't want to get into that. It's not a big concern. It's just a small concern. Of course, pulling them out and putting them back in will reseat them, probably make the connection better, but not necessarily. This one here I found was really crackly when I moved it. The others, not so much. Of course, I think at that time the radio was not operating fully, so I really didn't hear these guys. Maybe until this thing was put in properly, then these guys could be heard, but I never went back and wiggled them. That's probably what happened there. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything more I can do here right now that I want to do, that I can do without doing a lot more reading. So I think I got to focus on this mechanism and find out more about it. So I think that's going to be it for today too. It's a beautiful day outside, and I got a lot of heavy work to do in the backyard, so I think I'm going to go do that. Got some things here to think about, and I've got something to research further, and we'll see how that goes. So well, thanks a lot for watching. Maybe it wasn't the most exciting video, but I do want to be cautious with this radio. This isn't just a run-of-the-mill 1950s tabletop, all-American or all-Canadian 5 radio. This is a real piece of history here, and shame on me if I do some damage to it. And how could I do that? Well, probably lots of ways I could do it. So thanks a lot for watching again, and try again tomorrow. I will probably be going at this thing a little more. See ya.